I do recall one time, and I'm a guy, so I'm like, oh, nothing phases me. I'm a guy. Ah. Well, I was at this one location called Waverly Hills. It's a sanatorium, not a sanitarium. There's a difference. And I was there with my wife again, and she was just a little bit behind me as I was sitting at the camera in this one hallway. I turned to her and I said, wow, it felt like it got cold in this area. And I did have goosebumps all over my arms and the back of my legs and stuff. But I'm a guy, I didn't really think too much about it. And then moments later, a black figure walked right past me, in between both me and my wife, as I walked past my wife.
Wow.
Of course, it took me by some complete surprise. I was like, no, I didn't see there's no way that I just saw a shadow. Well, I turned to look at my wife and I was like, I thought for a moment that I saw, well, the next words out of her mouth was something that I can't repeat now. But it let me know that she saw the same thing. So it wasn't just my imagination. So, that was probably the first time that I actually felt something before I actually saw something happen to me.
And you had someone there to verify it as well. It's like often if you see something, you convince yourself that you haven't seen it. But if you've got someone there that saw it as well, that you can't, there's no denying it.
Right, exactly.
Have you always been interested in this paranormal activity? What inspired you? When did you start?
Well, I knew that there was something else than our reality, or what we perceive to be our reality, really since I was a kid. And this is what happens. A lot of people realize this. It was really because of when I was sick as a kid, and I projected. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what to call it.
Yeah.
I was sick and had a fever late at night, couldn't fall asleep, and I woke up and I was in my bedroom, but it didn't feel like I was in my body. I couldn't explain it. It was a weird sensation. So I looked around. I remember the vision was differently than my normal vision. I remember everything was a lot clearer. And I guess looking back at it now, I didn't have the bridge of my nose. I didn't have that divided look. Not long after that, I woke up and realized it was in my body. And I was like, wow, what was that? That didn't make sense whatsoever. Well, that inspired me, and as years went on, I went to a lot of New Age locations and found books on psychic phenomena and out-of-body and astral projection, stuff like that. So it inspired me to learn more about the paranormal realm. As today, unfortunately, I'm not like you, where I can almost have an out-of-body experience, with ease. I can't project today. I can't get relaxed enough to project.
Yeah, I think that is a big problem. It is a big problem. The relaxation is essential for projecting. If you can't relax, then really that's a basic thing that you have to do, because you can't leave your body unless your body's asleep.
Exactly, and I think that's what a lot of people fail at when they try to project and they can't. Is their body is not relaxed enough to allow them to leave their body. But I was successful when I was about 18. I think I did it once consciously. And from that, being able to really break out consciously and explore the being out of body, it led me to believe, okay, well, if I can leave my body while I'm still alive, well then logic tells me that people that do pass on and are possibly trapped in between realms, that really does occur. So for a long time, I always thought that it was possible that you would have ghosts and spirits, but there really wasn't anything that scientifically means that you can really back up that that type of talk. There's no really equipment back 20, 30 years ago where you could walk into a room and prove, oh yeah, we have a ghost over here because it shows up on an EMF, or we prove that a ghost exists because we were able to capture an EVP of the ghost, things like that. Now we do. We have a lot of equipment that's not 100% geared towards paranormal investigating, but it does assist greatly for paranormal investigating.
I wonder if your instruments would pick up if someone left their body and came into the room where your equipment was. Do you think they'd be able to pick it up?
You know, and I would love to do tests like that. I think Robert Monroe tried to do a lot of tests with the military, I think, originally, in trying to do things like that. But I don't think they had, and once again, the same type of equipment that we really look at today as far as trying to detect. I know they were trying to do controlled experiments where Robert would go into a room that was somewhat sealed off, and he was supposed to describe what he had saw by going into that room, and then when he came back to his body. But as far as being able to detect someone who is out of body, I don't think that has really been done yet.
No, it's a shame that we really can't prove it. We can't really scientifically prove it. So a lot of people just don't believe that it happens. But it's something you have to experience, I think. Once you've experienced it, you know. There's no going back, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you experience it.
Yeah. But I think everybody can experience it. It's just a case of focusing, I think, and finding a technique that suits you. I mean, at the moment I found a wonderful technique. It seems to work every night. But it works for me. It might not work for another person. I've tried lots and lots of different stuff.
How many times do you actually have a successful out-of-body experience, I'd say within a week's time?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How many times when you have an out-of-body experience, how many times are you successful within a week?
Well, it all does depend on state of mind. Last week I had a cold, so I didn't even bother because I didn't feel so good. Because you feel a bit like lack of energy. I tried this morning, and I got out for a little while. It all depends on how focused I am and whether I'm motivated to do the technique during the night.
Okay.
So the week before I had the cold, I was out about 5 times.
And when you do project, do you usually stay within our own reality, or do you go to other dimensions?
No, I'm not very good at staying in our own reality. I tend to go more in the astral. In one of Robert Bruce's books, he says there's 2 different types of astral well, not really astral projectors, of OBEers, I suppose. That some people tend to stay more in the real time zone, while others tend to go straight in the astral. So, whereas I tend to go straight in the astral, but I have been in the real time zone. It's just really difficult to maintain for any length of time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's very confusing to someone who's never really had an out-of-body experience, is explaining the fact that when you project out of your body, you may be within, our same reality or time zone, or you may go into the astral world, which looks just like ours. It's kind of hard to tell. It looks just like ours, but it's different. It's like a different law of physics, in a way, plays to a slight degree, and then a different law of I wouldn't really say morality, but it just doesn't seem to follow the same laws of socialism that we do within our own reality. So it can be quite different.
Oh, well, yeah, it can get really crazy. It's really difficult to explain because it can be all and everything. It really depends.
So in trying to, I guess, here, if you're trying to make a map of the world, it would be kind of quite simple. But from our perspective, to try to make a map of, the astral realm,
Exactly. Some people have tried, But then if someone makes a map of the astral realm, how do you know that is the same for everybody?
Exactly, and that's the problem. It's in explaining something. I mean, you can go into a confined room that has just a couch and a chair, but when you go into that same room, you may see a different type of couch and a different type of chair. It's the same location, but it's your version of reality that affects that location. And then somebody else that can go into the same location and see something completely different as well. So it's very hard to say point blank, this is what's here. Yeah. Because it's different for everybody that possibly goes in there.
Yeah, I agree totally. Because we've all got different belief systems that affect our experiences. For example, a man in the jungle that has an out-of-body experience isn't going to have an out-of-body experience that involves a computer if he's never seen a computer.
Right.
You know, so it's all... He might have a similar out-of-body experience in the meaning of the out-of-body experience, but the way it's presented could be totally different. That's why it's important to go beyond, I think, beyond the symbolism and understand what the out-of-body experience was actually trying to tell you, which I think is important, because they tell us so much, but sometimes we get a bit lost in all the incredible things that happen. You know, I remember Robert said in one of his books that he saw a Thomas the Tank Engine. I don't know if you know Thomas the Tank Engine. I don't know if you have it in America, but it's like a little
train.
Yeah, there's a series on television for kids, and he said once he had this Thomas the Tank Engine going past. Obviously, he'd got little kids and he'd been watching Thomas the Tank Engine or something. You know, complete with the little song. Do, 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 do. So, but I mean, something like that, does it mean something? Or is it just something that's just flown out of your head? Just for the fun of it, you know? It's, that's why the astral, you have to be careful with the symbolism and stuff. And, I mean, I've even met the devil in the astral. But does the devil really exist? Obviously, he existed in that out-of-body experience in my mind, but for a person that hasn't got any knowledge of the devil, obviously that devil doesn't exist. You know, being brought up in a Christian church and all the rest of it, obviously I've got symbolism in my head that is Christian, even though now I'm a little bit beyond religion, but all the symbolism is still there. I know very little about other religions. So if I'm going to get a religious symbol, it's going to come from my childhood. So all the symbolism that we get is it's just crazy. And I think sometimes it's just so refreshing to get beyond all that, which has happened to me once or twice, beyond the astral planes into the mental plane, or even beyond. I don't know, because it was such a big experience, but there was absolutely no symbolism. It was just consciousness. It was almost like I was the universe and everything was present. There was no future, no past, and everything was okay. You know, it was just like, this is how it should be. I was just simply being, you know, and when I got back into my body, it was like, wow. But while I was actually out there, it was like, oh, you know, this is normal. This is how it is. But of course, trying to bring that back and present it in words is very difficult, because in a way there were no words. I was just out there. But getting to those levels obviously takes more energy, and it's not as easy, but it is worth the hard work to get there, definitely.
You know, and that kind of leads me to think of one thing. You know, psychics, when they get their information, you know, psychics work differently. One psychic may work differently from another psychic, but basically the information is the same. They usually request to get information from their guides, and their guide sends them the information. Well, you know, they may simply get a word, or they may get a picture, or, you know, when in trying to describe what their spirit is trying to describe to them. Well, I think for a lot of reasons that the information that comes across is, once again, large. And it's kind of our minds, because we're on this dimension, that a lot of the information, I wouldn't really say gets garbled, but gets compressed into something that we may be able to understand within the form of symbolism. I mean, to me, I think the amount of information is like a CD. It could be so large that it will fit onto a compact disc.
Yeah.
But it's also compressed. So, let's say that the knowledge of the universe is on this disc. Well, it may simply be on this disc, but when it gets to us, we only can ingest a little bit at a time. So the only thing that we get is we may understand a picture that's trying to be associated, or we may understand the universe. Where the universe, this is the universe. It's this vast piece of information. And I tend to think that when you go into an astral realm, when you do have a conversation with a higher spirit, still what comes across, you may totally feel connected from what's being portrayed to you. But a lot of times when you do come back to your own body, and then you're like, oh my God, I understand it all. I'm going to write down every single word. Okay, let me start off. Okay, I was being told, how did I put that in words?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It just doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't.
That's why I say it's so important for everyone to take what they can from their own experiences, because we may have very, very different types of experiences even, and you can't tell someone, oh, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, because it might not be like that for them. Everybody has to do it for themselves and make their own mistakes as well, because obviously we learn by mistakes. Find their place and then work on their road, on their path, because we've also in the astral, maybe we've all got different jobs, who knows. Some people are good at going and doing astral rescues, delving into the darkness and pulling people out, and other people may be good at going to disaster areas and helping people that way, and all sorts of things. So I really believe in we can be groups, we can talk about it obviously, and we can learn from each other, but everybody has to do it for themselves.